Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
how's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And woo, this is a big week for Marvel collected editions. We've got 9 books to look at this particular week, so let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advance copies of these books. All these books are due out in the direct market and book market on August 20th or 21st, depending on where you get your books. So we've got 9 books to talk about. And as always, I leave timestamps in the description of the video so you can jump around in case you're curious about a book, or if you wanted to see if they restored the artwork, compare it to yours, whatever it is, or you don't want any kind of spoilers, you can just jump around. But before you do, please don't forget to smash that like button. That goes a long way for us here on the channel. Very small thing you can do, but it means the world to us. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let's kick this off with Amazing Spider-Man, Breathe. And Breathe is Amazing Spider-Man by Zeb Wells, Volume 10. Cover there by John Romita Jr., and the back cover here by John Romita Jr. Now, this is all taking place after the events of Gang War, and if you haven't been reading Zeb Wells' run on Amazing Spider-Man, maybe some spoilers going into the book. Okay, so we have Carmen Carnero drawing some of this, and it's such a joy to see her draw internal artwork. Todd Nogg, John Romita Jr., and then we have people drawing some of Web of Spider-Man and Free Comic Book Day. So collected in here is Amazing Spider-Man 45 through 49, and the material from Free Comic Book Day 2024, Spider-Man Ultimate Universe, as well as Web of Spider-Man number 1. This book has 136 pages and retails for $17.99, and we kick it off with Anna Watson. Anna Watson is Mary Jane Watson's aunt, and she has been locked up in Ravencroft, a mental institution where a lot of villains go. What ended up happening is because of her dementia and they were trying to cure her, they were using Krakoan medicine. But because of the events of Fall of X and the latest Hellfire Gala with Orchis and pretty much everybody coming down on the X-Men, the medicine has a huge side effect and it was making her insane. However, Spider-Man is coming to deliver a cure. Whether that cure works or not, well, you can find that out for yourself. We are also seeing a bunch of other villains back in this particular run. One in particular that kind of wants to forget his past and doesn't want anything to do with the rest of the villains that have been a nightmare to Spider-Man. And it kind of leads into the next story arc, which will be continued in the next book, volume 11. We do have Peter Parker here trying to go out on a date, but unfortunately he can't. And he's called out to action because Betty Brant needs his help. And this has the return of this character named Chasm. Now, I'm not going to spoil who that is, but if you've read Dark Web and if you've been reading Spider-Man, you know who Chasm is. And we also have the return of Hallows Eve. They are not alone, because right behind them is the Queen Goblin. All of these characters were introduced earlier on in Zeb Wells' run and have a huge part to play in the Dark Web storyline. So this is their return back here. However, they want something else. They don't want Spider-Man's life. Then we have a Blood Hunt tie-in right here. And this is, of course, the big event that has vampires where the Earth is just dark because the sun has blocked out. For some reason, villains, right? And in this particular issue, it's the White Rabbit that is turned into a vampire. And then we have some Web of Spider-Man stuff here. This is the one that's drawn by Ed McGuinness. This is the Gold Goblin versus the Grave Goblin. And then we have another piece over here with the White Rabbit. And then material from the Ultimate Universe and Spider-Man Free Comic Book Day. But just featuring the Spider-Man from the 616 universe with artwork by Ryan Stegman. Now, there is another superhero that's showing up through here, and I didn't want to spoil who that is, but if you've been reading Spider-Man in recent time, you know who it is. And I'm sure she will be showing up in the next volume too. But This is Amazing Spider-Man by Zeb Wells, Volume 10, Breathe. Sentry Legacy. What legacy is there for the Sentry to leave behind? Well, this was a completely unexpected read. I no idea what was going on. Honestly, I thought the Sentry had come back, and I am talking about Robert, the character that was the original Sentry. In this, he's not back. So if you don't know much about the Sentry or what's happened to the Sentry in the last, I don't know, 15 years, how long was that storyline in Siege? Maybe some spoilers here just in case you haven't read Siege and you're currently reading things. But you know what's going on or don't care about spoilers. This is what's going on. Sentry's gone. He's been dead. Sentry's been dead for a while now. And he hasn't come back. We had a little bit of a Jeff Lemire tease, but nothing happened. So Robert Reynolds is gone. However, this is where it gets really weird. There are people that are getting parts of his power. So we start off with this young lady, Mal, who ends up getting his power. Now, before every time one of them gets powers, they have a flashback of some kind of struggle or some kind of fight that the Sentry was in the middle of. And then their powers awaken. Now, why exactly is this happening? And what could it mean? And there's definitely more than one person that is awakened through here. And what gets interesting, because I thought, oh, cool, it's going to be a group of Sentries. Whatever. This is, by the way, written by Jason Liu, and it is drawn by Luigi Sagaria and David Cutler. And we also have Ben Harvey on artwork. So every time somebody awakens, we have a flashback of the Sentry doing something. And then we have this character right here. So this is Ryan Topper. And Ryan is one of these people that ended up with the power of the Sentry, just like these people that are awakening their powers. But he doesn't want everybody to have the Sentry's power. He wants them all to himself. So in the first issue, it's revealed that he kills these people for their power of the Sentry, and he absorbs that power. How he figured that out? Must be a smart guy. But this is a 4-issue miniseries. It's 112 pages, and it retails for $15.99. And you can find out exactly what ends up happening with him. Do other people have the Sentry's powers? Do they get to live? Or does that character end up just killing everybody and taking all the Sentry's powers? It was an unexpected series. Or I didn't think the Sentry Legacy would be anything like this. So it took me by surprise just how unique it was. Now, in the back, we do have variant covers, including the Sentry, and just the Sentry, not any of the new... There we go. There's Mal, and Ryan, and Farhad, and I'm going to skip a couple of the characters that are also part of the Sentry. And did these costumes actually show up? Maybe. And that's all I will say about the Sentry Legacy. Star Wars Mace Windu, the Twilight Run. And this particular book collects Mace Windu 1 through 4 and the material from Star Wars Revelations. Now, the events that are happening here take place before Episode 1 and before the Clone Wars, of course. So, in here, we have this little... I really thought this little Revelation story was it, and I thought, wait a second, why did this end the way that it did? But it leads into the big arc. I should have known better. I don't know why I thought. So it is Mace Windu infiltrating a prison because the Jedi Order has found out that this warden has been doing some corrupt things, like taking money and letting prisoners out or letting things into the prison. So he ends up fighting him, and then a bunch of droids with all this information get dropped to the next planet, which is where he ends up falling out. So he ends up falling in the ocean moon of Devshi. And this is where the adventure continues, where he has to get the information from the droids and stop the warden, and then before there's a huge prison riot. But that leads into Coruscant. So we have here the meeting between Yoda and Mace Windu, and he puts him on a particular task. And the task is to go and find this new coaxium formula that they have. And the coaxium formula is going to be used to like power vehicles, and it's like a new battery source. And the refinery has been taking it a bunch of this coaxium formula from this particular planet. However, he thinks he's going to go and buy this coaxium formula, but what he's really there to do is go and meet up with this lady here, Azita Cruz, who has already taken out the coaxium and is willing to sell it. So, of course, Mace Windu's like, all right, sure. That sounds easy. I just gotta go and pay her. And then, of course, Yoda says, well, nothing's ever that easy. We're not the only ones that's after this. Everybody wants this. So you gotta make sure you get to her before anyone else does. And that's what this little 4-issue miniseries is about. And in here, you're gonna find people, I don't know what to call them, environmentalists that are against machinery. And they fight like Jedi. And do they have ties to the Jedi? Maybe they do. I don't know. But it is nice to see Mace Windu have his own miniseries. I know he had one in the past, but this is the latest one. This is the one that's written by Mark Bernardine. And the artwork in here, just make sure I give credit where credit is due. Georges Genti, who's no stranger to drawing characters that look like movie stars. Because, I mean, he did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and he's done some Star Wars stuff. Dexter Vines doing the inks, and Andrew Dahlhaus doing the color lettering by Joe Caramagna. And Chris Cross doing the art here. I didn't even notice that. And now that I'm looking at it, that is Chris Cross's artwork for the Revelations little intro. In the back is where you're going to get some variant covers. And other Jedi books. 112 pages, $15.99. Thanos, Return of the Mad Titan. And it is really the Return of the Mad Titan. It seems like Marvel... When was it? It was the Guardians of the Galaxy issue that Donny Cates wrote. So it's been a while. It's been a couple of years since Thanos has been missing from the Marvel Universe. And this is the Return of the Mad Titan. And I hope it leads into other appearances. He doesn't have to be the big baddie of everything, but I do like the fact that he is back. I mean, it's Thanos, right? When has he not come back? Not even death, who he has a crush on, can keep him away. This is Christopher Cantwell writing the stories, Luca Pizzari and Herman Peralta doing the art, Ruth Redmond doing the colors, and Cory Petit doing the lettering. You do sometimes have the variant cover on the opposite side of the standard edition cover. I love when they do that, so not everything in the back has like thumbnail size books or thumbnail size covers. So I have enjoyed Christopher Cantwell's writing so much. I love his independent stuff. I've loved the Marvel stuff that he's written. That Doom book needs to be in oversized format. If you haven't read it, oh my gosh, it's so good. And I really dug his Iron Man. I feel like he understands these characters. This is such a genuinely unique book about Thanos because it feels like it should be a bigger event than just this 4-issue miniseries. It's written so well. We meet this character, and I know anytime you meet a new character, you're like, okay, we're going to be able to tell the story through her perspective. Who is this? This is Roberta. But I mean, come on, how many times have we done that, right? The whole new Cosmic Saga started because of Cammy. If not for Cammy, we wouldn't have Drax, and then that led into, of course, the entire Annihilation Saga. But my point is that within 3 pages, I've really dug her character. She's an interesting goth girl. She's a waitress at a restaurant. She doesn't have the best paying job. And the narration boxes are amazing because this is the way she thinks. And all she's talking about is television. And it's like Bachelorette or Bachelor, one of those type of shows that she's watching and talking about the contestants. She does go and visit a gravesite. So this is a young lady. This is been a long time since I've seen this happen in comics, especially Marvel or DC comics, where we actually have dates. They usually keep those hidden, like by some kind of leaf, or the flowers would have been covering them up. So she is visiting a grave, so whoever Mary Collins was very near and dear to her. And in the middle of one of her shifts, she ends up being approached by this crazy lady who says that she knows her, and then a big ship comes and crashes down in this part of the earth and decides to take up this entire city along with all its citizens. And of course, it's Thanos. So Thanos is here to capture Fresno because he's looking for something. He's looking for a particular something that he's it's been taken from him. Now, the Avengers show up. I'm sorry, not the Avengers. The Illuminati. Forget I said Avengers. The Illuminati show up, including the Blue Marvel and Emma Frost as part of it. I love how Iron Man, every time he shows up, he's got some kind of new mock armor. So this collects the 4-issue miniseries. I can't believe it's only 4 issues. It has 112 pages and retails for $15.99. They approach her to tell her that they need her help. Or rather, she needs their help. And she has no idea why. And it becomes a mystery as to why the Avengers are there to help her and what Thanos is looking for. They get the Hulk's help, and it becomes a huge battle in Fresno. And you can find out exactly what he's looking for. You can find out who that lady is, Roberta, and then the big battle. What ends up happening to Thanos? Are they able to stop Thanos from finding said piece that he's looking for? And in the back, we have more variant covers. But there's also something really special back here. After the variant covers, we have Thanos' Death Notes. And it's a look inside of the mind of Thanos. 112 pages, $15.99. Cable, united we fall. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, this particular week of books was so difficult to choose my pick of the week. It was, oh my gosh, every time I would read a book, I'm like, okay, Thanos is it. Nope, here comes Cable, this is it. But then something else came around, I'm like, oh, I gotta go with this. This was very close, though. This is collecting Cable 1 through 4, and it is set during the fall of X. The book has 112 pages and retails for $15.99. If you don't know what the heck the fall of X is, and you're just here for Cable or Fabian Nicieza, who is writing this issue, or these 4 issues, or Scott Eaton drawing them, you don't really have to know. That's the beauty of this miniseries. Leah Medina and Cam Smith, Victor Nava, Jose Marzan, Java Targlia, and Joe Sabino are the other people working on this book along with Fabian Nicieza. The beauty of this miniseries is they can really take place at any point. But it is taking place during the fall of X, where Orchis is trying to get rid of the rest of the mutants here on Earth, and of course Cable is trying to investigate and do his own kind of mission. And one of them is attacking this Stark Sentinel, trying to take it down. But what he's really after, along with the help of Bell, I love the fact that Fabian is just one of these guys that he's an amazing writer that reads everything and does research before taking over a book. Like, there's very few writers I can say that do that. I love a lot of different writers, but not everybody respects what's come before, or nor do they have to. Sometimes the editors are like, don't worry about reading what happened before. Just get in here and do your thing. Fill in the blank, writer. But Fabian really feels like he reads things before taking over a book. He's like, okay, well, I haven't read Cable for the last couple of years. Give me some Cable stuff that I have to know. Oh, he's got this AI unit called Bell living in his arm. Cool. When did that happen? Uncanny Avengers? Noted. And he uses it. I love it. I mean, he uses Irene Merriweather, too. Like, that is the wonderful thing about him and people like Peter David and Kurt Busiek, Mark Waid. Anyway, back to this. So, yes, he is getting the help of the AI unit Bell. What he's trying to find is his young self, who has been kidnapped by Orchis. But Orchis isn't the problem. The problem is this new thing that is coming. This fear of impending doom known as the Neocracy. And Neocracy, I almost called it Neo-Crazy, which I think they want you to. Neocracy is the evolution of man. And by that I mean making everybody equal. Making everybody evolve. Mutant, Inhuman, humans, it doesn't matter. Everyone making them equal. Very reminiscent of the first story arc with the Blue Man in the Deadpool and Cable series. Gosh, I can't believe I call it Deadpool and Cable. Cable and Deadpool, sorry about that. You can take my no prize away. Very reminiscent of that first story arc. But I do enjoy the team up of Old Man Cable and Young Man Cable together to stop this Neocracy from coming. Plus all the Easter eggs. Oh, it's so awesome. So in the first issue, we do get to meet one of the people behind the project, and that is none other than Grey Gargoyle, and there's a big fight. Will Spartacio supplying the covers, and it is only 4 issues. And I would just, if you love Cable, if you love X-Men, this is such a good read. I love the fact that they used the cover, which was it's the Hidden Gem variant cover, but it is a pinup from the Blood and Metal miniseries by John Romita Jr., who drew the miniseries. So in the back of the trade paperback is where you're going to find the covers by Will Spartacio and the variant covers, including that one there. And most of these textless. 112 pages, and that is Cable. United we fall. And we have reached the halfway mark of the video, or halfway point, whatever it's called. But also the point where I remind people to please smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and ring that bell for notifications. It goes a long way for us here on the channel. Alright, so here's all the spines of the books coming out this particular week. You angle it right so there's no lighting, something like that. Let's continue with the video. Let's continue the overview with Aliens Epic Collection, The Original Years, Volume 2. And I know we just saw the spines, but just one more look. Here's the back of the book. Volume 2, 1990 to 1992. So this is during the Dark Horse era of Aliens, putting out some phenomenal comics. Mike Richardson, John Arcudi, Jerry Prozer, Steve Bissette, just some of the writers there. Or all the writers, rather. Ben Duvall, Damon Willis, Kelly Jones, Dave Dorman, Simon Beasley, Tony Akins, just to name a few of the pencilers. And then your inkers here like Kelly Jones and Brian Garvey, Simon Beasley, colorist Rachel Manishi, and Arthur Sudem, who actually did some covers early on. Clem Robbins doing some of the lettering, as well as Willie Schubert. And here's the breakdown of each of the issues. So we do have some Dark Horse Presents stuff in here. So this does collect Aliens Hive 1 through 4, Aliens Tribes, Aliens Genocide 1 through 4, Aliens Newt's Tale 1 and 2, and then material from Dark Horse Insider 14 through 27, and the Dark Horse 5th Anniversary Special Edition, Dark Horse Presents number 56, which is in color. So the black and white stuff that you're going to see at the beginning, it's just run-of-the-mill type of Marines... Colonial Marines against Xenomorphs. This right here is actually drawn by Simon Beasley, and John Arcudi's the writer, and it's about a group of other aliens, this has no dialogue by the way, that are going in here to get these eggs. And they want the Xenomorph eggs for a specific reason. And you can find out what that reason is by reading the book. And then we get to the mini-series, or no, this is the Dark Horse Presents. This is the Alien. Now, what's really cool about the first few years of Alien, as far as like the first omnibus, a little bit of the second omnibus, is that you are going to be seeing some returning characters that play a part in the story, and they keep coming back. And either the characters or their legacy or some kind of new drug that they found, I love the fact that it's all connected. And they do it for about the first 3, maybe 4 years that Dark Horse had the Aliens books. Alright, here's Aliens Genocide. So by now, Aliens had come out, and of course we kicked off the Aliens book with the follow-up to Aliens, the movie. So we have a cover here by Arthur Sudem, and the internal artwork here is by Damon Willis and John Arcudi and Mike Richardson working on this 4-issue miniseries. So, in Genocide, we have this new drug that humans have developed, and what they need is more of this drug. So what ends up happening is that they send a team to go to this planet to go and get the queen, it's like the queen jelly, it's what it's called, or the queen mother's royal jelly, that's what it's called. What they didn't know was that there were 2 queens. And that there's a huge war going on in the planet between xenomorphs. So you have the green xenomorphs against the red xenomorphs. And it is complete genocide down there. They're just ripping each other apart. Now, what this drug is doing to these people is making them more powerful. So it pretty much giving them enhanced running abilities if you're a runner, enhance jumping abilities if you are a high jumper in the Olympics. But if you're a Marine that murders people, you're just damn good at your job. And you go crazy. And this drug, they call it the Xenosip. I think they change it later on to something else. So that's what this 4-issue miniseries is. It's extracting this royal jelly from this planet and trying to get it back. Now, that actually leads into... I love this double-page spread cover. That leads into the next story arc, or to the next miniseries. And that is Alien's Hive. And Alien's Hive is written by Jerry Proser, and the artwork here is by Kelly Jones. Big fan of Kelly Jones. He did all the covers for Nightfall, and he actually did Batman Red Rain and stories like that. But Hives is the follow-up to that series, where we have a scientist that has developed a new synthetic. And this new synthetic is this xenomorph right here. His name is Norbert. Norbert doesn't really get along with humans because they're still testings, and I don't know what his reasoning was, but it does come in handy. Norbert doesn't get along with humans, but he loves this dog. This dog's like his buddy. Now, if you're an animal lover, skip this story. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. So what ends up happening is that they know about the royal jelly. So they want to go down there and get some royal jelly because this will help them develop a new drug that can be controlled, that doesn't have side effects, like making people go crazy and things like that. So instead of sending an army, they end up sending Norbert down there to just pretend to be a xenomorph like the rest of them down here on the planet. What he didn't know is there was another team that came down here before him, and Norbert runs into a bunch of xenomorphs. And when he runs into a bunch of xenomorphs, the camera goes off. So they have to go and try to extract him. Try to find out what happened to Norbert, what happened to the poor dog, and what ends up happening. One of the creepiest things about Norbert's that he can talk. And I know that doesn't creep people out, but to me, man, it creeps me out. Then we get, again, all of it drawn by Kelly Jones. We get this. And this right here is Aliens Tribes. This is by Stephen Bissett and David Dorman drawing it. But this is more like a prose. And it talks about colonial marines that specialize in just eradicating xenomorphs. And they're in this particular station. And what ends up happening to a lot of these particular marines in this station. Again, it is a prose type of story. And there's a lot of it. And then we get my favorite one. And that is Newt's Tale. Newt's Tale, if you're a fan of Newt in Aliens, not Alien 3, is a wonderful addition to the lore of Aliens. If you watch the movie, you know that she starts off at the very beginning without a family. Now, if you watch the director's cut, you see her family. You see her brother, you see what happens to her dad. And Newt's Tale is the movie Aliens, before Aliens begins, told through the perspective of Newt. So her losing her family, her losing the entire colony. I mean, it's not her fault, but the reason why, I mean, it is dark, dude. There are some dark things in here. Because, I mean, there are kids that live, babies that live in this colony. And then, of course, the eventual Marines with Ripley coming in. And told through the perspective of Newt. And how they are able to survive. And if you haven't seen the movie, I recommend strongly watching the movie and not reading Newt's Tale instead. Then come back and read Newt's Tale because it's so good. This book has 456 pages and retails for $44.99. In the back, you're going to see some unused covers. You're going to see some house ads. You're going to see covers to different collections. And it's very similar to what they do. I mean, it's the exact same content that they put in the omnibus editions. And that is Aliens, the Original Years, Epic Collection Volume 2. The Incredible Hulk Epic Collection Ground Zero. Finally, an Epic Collection. I remember when we got the Omnis, people were like, well, we're never getting the Epic Collection. And here it finally is. By the way, nice touch here with Bernie Wrightson's art. Because Omnibus doesn't have that. Just saying. All right. Better not get too loud before Curtis hears me. Peter David, Jim Sterling doing the graphic novel, of course, Todd McFarlane, John Ridgway, Bernie Wrightson, Eric Larson, Kim DeMolder, Fred Fredericks, Pablo Marcos are some of the inkers, coloring by Petra Scotzi and Bernie Wrightson, lettering by Rick Parker and John Workman, just to name a few of the people that put this together. So we are kicking it off with this new era of The Incredible Hulk by Peter David. So Bill Mantlow's off the book, John Byrne's off the book, our pal Sal's off the book after 100 plus issues, and here comes Peter David's run. Now, Peter David had some baggage to carry over into his run. So what is he going to do? Well, we got a Rick Jones Hulk. We need to get rid of that. We got a steroid-sized leader. Well, let's utilize that. And we have a Gray Hulk. And the Gray Hulk is going to be going through some changes. He's, first of all, smart. He's not dumb Hulk, like Hulk smash, Green Hulk. He's different. He wants to be away from Banner. Even though that's kind of been a thing, though. He wants Banner to just go away. So what happens in here is that there's also the difference in, it goes back to the classic, like, daylight, moonlight. Like, during the daytime, he's Bruce Banner. During the nighttime, he is the Hulk. And we do have a young Todd McFarlane drawing these issues with different inkers. Now, of course, that will all change in issue 340, which is all part of Ground Zero. So, yes, a lot of the storylines from the last Epic Collection get wrapped up through here. And before they do, we do have actually this particular issue right here. It's kind of a standout issue, issue 335. Because, well, this one isn't drawn by Todd McFarlane. This is actually drawn by John Ridgway. And it reminded me, the reason why I said it's kind of a standalone issue, it kind of reminded me of the way that the TV show Hulk would work. So, here we have the Incredible Hulk, and going through changes, fighting X-Factor, or some of the members of X-Factor, Iceman and Phoenix, or I'm sorry, Marvel Girl and Iceman. And all of it leading into this big clash that's about to happen in this story arc that is called Ground Zero. So, in Ground Zero, let me make sure that, go back to this page right here. So, we are going to be seeing a change here too. This is Todd McFarlane, inked by somebody else. By the time we kick it off in Ground Zero, it is Todd McFarlane, not the cover, because this one's inked by Bob Wyzek, but Todd McFarlane inking himself. And you can tell the night and day. Kind of like the whole difference between his art when he's inked by himself. This is before Todd McFarlane was Spawn Todd McFarlane, before he was even Spider-Man Todd McFarlane, which kind of put his name on the map. But this is when they took note. This guy's good. He's really good. Because, I mean, before this, he had done, what? The Infinity Inc. stuff, Coyote. I'm trying to think what else he had worked on. Not a lot. This was like his first ongoing series. And, man, to me, when I saw this issue at the comic store, that cover. I mean, come on. Who did not grow up in this particular era that did not see this at the comic store and just immediately pick it up, whether you collected Hulk or not? And it is the reason why I started really getting into the Hulk was because of this issue. I'd forgotten about that. I mean, I love Peter David's run. I went back and read, I want to say most of it. There's still some epics that have stories that I haven't read. But, man. So, the story, sorry. Just getting nostalgic here. The story of Ground Zero, as this is called, is Hulk is now with Rick Jones, and Rick Jones, you know, he's been partnered up with Captain America, he's been with the Avengers, and now he's kind of hanging out with the Hulk again. And he's also with Rogue Shield agent Clay Quartermain. And together, what they're trying to do is trying to stop this mass production of gamma bombs. They've learned that the US government has been mass producing gamma bombs to create the effect of what happened to the Hulk. Now again, this time he is gray, and step in the leader. So the leader is actually manipulating a lot of things and why he plays a big role in here. And the game of chess and the dialogue, this is it. This gets my seal of approval. This is going up against John Byrne's Fantastic Four, which at the time, which I'll be talking about next, was peak. But this, oh my gosh, just the plot, the art, the dialogue, everything was so good. Everything was working so well. And yes, eventually he did get pulled to go draw Spider-Man, but at this time it was all the Incredible Hulk, and it was so good. Always loved throwing in Felix the Cat in all of his drawings. I think just about each issue. But we have the aftermath of Ground Zero. Now, this, of course, will lead into the next story arc, which will see a different side of Hulk and a different character. Not sure who he's trying to fool in Vegas, but this is... Oh, this is the Clay Quartermain. It's like his take on what happened to the Incredible Hulk. So this collects Incredible Hulk 331 to 346, and if I can't talk you into it with that, the Incredible Hulk and the Thing, the big change is collected in here. Jim Starlin writing the story, and Bernie freaking writes and drawing this, and it is how the Hulk and the Thing are pulled into a different planet and just have to fight. So if you enjoy big characters, big monster characters fighting other monsters, you're going to love this. 464 pages, $44.99. Let's look in the back for some extras. And again, that is not collected in the omnibus format. This is from the Marvel Age, talking about the new direction for the Hulk, and it sure did have a new direction. Incredible Hulk 336 and 337 house ad. This is from the press poster by Todd McFarlane, again doing his own inks. And Bob Wysack doing the inks here. Hulk Visionaries, Peter David Volume 1. That's right, I forgot there were Visionaries. I had those too. There were 8 of them, I think. They didn't do the whole Peter David run. But that is Ground Zero, and that got my stamp of approval. Marvel Masterworks, Fantastic Four, Volume 26. So we are looking at the tail end of the Fantastic Four by John Byrne. And we have your title page here, your credits, and your table of contents, and the She-Hulk right there, because something's collected in here. Introduction by Michael Higgins, talking about how he first fell in love with the Fantastic Four, meeting John Byrne at the same party that he met Jack Kirby. Wow, that's so amazing. And then we kick it off with Fantastic Four 278. So this does collect Fantastic Four 278 to 285, fully restored. So the restoration in here is better than the latest printing of the omnibus. It also contains annual number 19 with the crossover with Avengers annual 14, also in here. Marvel graphic novel number 18, Sensational She-Hulk, because she was part of the team. And material from Secret Wars 2 number 2. But just the Fantastic Four parts. Not even pages, just the Fantastic Four like frames. I'll show you. 384 pages, retailing for $75. So this is, like I mentioned, the tail end, or towards the tail end. We'll have another, I think another one and a half more of John Byrne's run on the Fantastic Four. We have the fight with the Hate Monger. We have the fight with Psycho Man. This is after the events of, the Thing catching Johnny with Alicia. I always want to call her Alicia because of my daughter's name. The Baxter building gets end up getting destroyed. We see some of the potential of Johnny Storm. We have them fighting Mephisto, and then we also have Kristoff. We have somebody that has brainwashed Kristoff. And then the Hate Monger story. Now, I am going to go ahead and say that the Hate Monger story in these pages, let me see if I can find it. It should be in some of the dialogue, and then, of course, some of the signs. Actually, I can't believe I'm looking for this, but so the derogatory term has been censored, much like the way it was censored in the omnibus of the new printing. And we are talking about a racist town, a takeover from the Hate Monger, and of course, Psycho Man. So I'm pretty sure people can figure out what that is. Now, it wasn't censored in the Visionaries, and it wasn't censored in the first printing of the Omnis. But it has been censored here, and it was censored in the omnibus printing. So it is just, I think it actually did it, if I'm not mistaken, the very beginning. I seem to remember it did it in the omnibus. Yeah, right here. Like I said, pretty sure most people can figure it out, and I've seen the comments, so that's why I said if you want it uncensored, that's the Visionaries trade paperbacks and the omnibus first printings. We do have, like I mentioned, there's a lot that happens in here. It's really unique how John Byrne goes from a racist takeover of the city to the microverse and the fight against Psycho Man. Not a lot of writers can pull that off. it's really interesting to see how his brain worked and how the story just flowed into the next story. And eventually we do have the power pack, and then of course Franklin becoming a big part of that. And here's the She-Hulk book right here, where she's out on the town with Wyatt Wingfoot and ends up getting captured by S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. We're using these mandroids to take her up into the helicarrier. And instead, for some reason, of asking her to come with them. And then, oh my gosh, did we get this really... This is what I mean. This was tough to choose between this or the Hulk. Like, this is a really powerful story if you haven't read it. It's the reason why Johnny Storm can't be the Human Torch anymore. And it involves somebody that idolizes him, a young kid. And man, that story, to this day, still hits. And then we have this is the Skrull stories. So this is all part of the crossover with the Avengers. A special appearance there by Humphrey Bogart. And then all the way in the back, we have some extras. So the Marvel Fanfare right here, pinup. And we have, can't wait for that omnibus, by the way, the Marvel Age promoting the Fantastic Four. And Marvel Fanfare. Mike Carlin commissioned new logos for the Fantastic Four. This is a cloth banner right here. From 1984 to 1985, Marvel released a series of cloth banners. And we have lots of original pieces of art. Kim DeMulder doing the inks and the design right there. The breakdowns of some of these pages. So this is the finished page with inks by Joe Sinnott. And then the breakdowns right there. And, this is the Visionaries that I was talking about. And then, of course, the biographies on John Byrne, Al Milgrom, Jim Shooter, and Roger Stern. And that is the Fantastic Four. Marvel Masterworks, Volume 26. 384 pages. Did I say that right? 384 pages, $75. Next up is Avengers by Jason Aaron. This is the deluxe hardcover, Volume 5. And before we open it up, I did want to show where it fits in the reading order of Jason Aaron's Avengers in oversized hardcover format. Now, we are missing Avengers Forever Omnibus. That doesn't come out until next year, though. And that will wrap up the series. So if you have volumes 1 through 4, Heroes Reborn belongs right here after volume 4. And then volume 5. I mean, I could get crazy and add Judgment Day, but I figured people just want to see what it would look like with the rest of Jason Aaron's stories of Avengers. But here you go. Alright, now we can get the book open, but first, let's go ahead and get the dust jacket off. Here's the flaps of Odin and Captain Marvel. A little bit about the creators, Mightier Than Ever, and then the back of the book. And then we have this piece right here of these new Avengers. Who are those cats? So this is collecting Avengers 46 through 62. It also has Avengers 1 million BC number 1. Gives you a little bit of what happened previously. And Free Comic Book Day 2021 Avengers Hulk. And the book has 496 pages and retails for $60. Here are the credits, all written by Jason Aaron, but you have Javier Garon, and also Aaron Cooter, Carlos Pacheco, Rafael Fontides, and Ed McGuinness. Then you have Steve McNiven, and David Baldeón, Ivan Coelho, just to name a few of the other artists that are working on this book. And sometimes you have, that did not look like Peach Momoko, a variant cover on the opposite side of the standard edition cover. So 496 pages, again, $60. And we kick it off with the World War She-Hulk. And this is in the aftermath of what I showed you earlier whenever I put the books together of Heroes Reborn. The characters are back here, but then they've kind of left some things open. One of the things is that the Winter Guard has taken an interest in She-Hulk. And not because she's going savage, but because they want to utilize her as a weapon for her to become the Winter Hulk. And she's not the only Hulk that they'll be using. And a lot of this has to do with not just the Winter Guard, but also Gorilla Man. So if you're a fan of Agents of Atlas, he's utilized rather well here. We also have Starbrand, or Brand, what is his name? Star Kid, I think. Whatever they're calling him. Trying to get used to his powers. This does have one of my favorite openings of any of the comics. that Jason Aaron worked on. I really like that. I think it's a really powerful opening. And then we start setting up the multiverse Masters of Evil. But it is this opening that features, here, let's actually get to it. And it's in issue 52. I want to go back to issue 50, though. But it is talking about how there was a soldier from World War II who left a widow behind, and she didn't have any pallbearers because every one of his war buddies was gone. And Captain America steps in and says, not all of them. I think this is such a good beginning. And I wish there was more moments like this. Not death, but just character moments like that. And also just this moment here between Starbrand or Brand Kit, Starbrand Kit, I think, whatever they end up calling her, and Captain Marvel talking about why it's important to be here, to show up at this funeral, and why both of them need to listen to what Captain America does. Like, you don't say yes or no when Captain America asks. You say, where do you need me and when? I thought that was so good. We do have, I wanted to come back to this. Issue 50 is insane. It sets up a lot of the things that will happen, especially in the Jason Aaron Avengers Forever storyline. But you have different multiple characters from across the multiverse. You have some characters that are stranded in time. You have the free comic book day, and again, sometimes variant covers on the opposite side of standard edition covers. And the free comic book day will actually set up the events of what's to come. We do have a new Phoenix during this time. And of course, this is tying into Judgment Day. All right, now we can talk about this multiverse of characters. So you have characters like the Black Skull and the Ghost Goblin here, because we are talking about the multiversal Masters of Evil that are coming here. And we do have some new Avengers on this particular roster, or this particular team. And if we have the new Masters of Evil that are using all their forces united to travel through the multiverse, then what can the Deathlocks do? Well, we can summon our own team. So we do have a new team member in Valkyrie, and also Namor ends up joining the team during this particular time. And there's the Serpent Society. I almost call them Snake Society. This is the Avengers 1 million BC, and it focuses on those characters that we were introduced earlier on in Jason Aaron's run. Talking about how there was always the idea for the Avengers. Remember, Bendis did one like in the 50s, and Jason Aaron was like, hold my beer. I'll do one set 1 million years ago. So we have different characters that are now showing up throughout different Earths. Like we have Ghost Ronin. He's part of Japan's Edo period. And we have the Sergeant Sardos, who's the Soldier Supreme. So all these new characters from across the multiverse, the Starbrand Kid, will end up being a huge part of the next story arc, which is the Avengers Forever. We do have this little, it's almost like, I don't want to call it a fill-in issue, but it's drawn by Greg Land, but this is set of the Judgment War as well. So we do have some Judgment War in here, but not very much, because the main part of the story is the history's mightiest heroes from across the universes coming together to fight these multiversal masters of evil. And hokey as they may be, I really dig them. And I actually really like the new, what's his name, Nighthawk. So you have Doom Supreme, you have Young Thanos, and the rest of these cats, who I don't want to reveal in case you haven't been reading them. And then, of course, the different covers all the way in the back. Some of them have absolutely nothing to do with the book. So this will wrap up with the Omnibus Avengers Forever. Now, this was printed at the iMac printer. Let's look at the eye. 496 pages. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of each of these books. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking any of these up, if any have piqued your interest, if you're collecting Aliens in Epic Collection, or you already got the Omnis, or you haven't even read them yet, and if you hope one day we'll get any of these new series in some kind of bigger format. Are you going to wait around for the Avengers by Jason Aaron Omnibus whenever that's going to come? I don't know. No announcement, I'm just hypothetical question. And please don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.